Hey guys, welcome back. So we've got a couple miles on the new truck and we're going to talk about it a little bit. It's awesome. We took it on a nice little road trip down to New Mexico. We put just over 1,500 miles on it. And I got to tell you, the 342 rear end, I haven't towed yet, but I'm going to explain a couple things about the transmission and how it works so that you can hopefully understand how this is going to affect your towing with the 342 and the Powerline transmission. So when you're not towing, you're not in tow haul mode, you get second through eighth gear. You don't get first. All right? This is kind of makes sense here in just a second. It gives you eighth but locks out first because you don't need the first gear because you're not towing. Now as soon as you put it in tow haul mode and you're towing, it locks out eighth but gives you first. So you're not going to be able to do 95, 100 mile an hour while you're towing your fifth wheel behind you, but you will be able to get out of the hole a lot better than you would with the previous transmissions, the RFE or the Eisen. Now I do like the Eisen, don't get me wrong, but I think the Powerline is definitely a game changer for these trucks. It's smooth, it keeps you at about 1,350 to 1,500 depending on your speed while you're cruising, instead of up there at 1,800 to 2,000 RPM. So you get a lot longer leg while you're going down the highway. You don't notice any shifting when you're pulling grade, up, down. It's a very smooth transition between gears. And the whole entire trip that's down there, all of the city driving down there, plus we had a whole bunch of mud. So we're gonna have a couple videos with the mud in there and stuff. But total, we ended up with about 18.4 miles per gallon. I would hope it would get a little bit better after we get some miles on it. We'll just see what happens. But there she is again. She's absolutely gorgeous. It took me 5 hours to pressure wash all the mud off of her. So
now, let me ask you a question.
Yeah, shoot.
Oil change. You have about 1,500 miles on it. Are you going to change oil right now?
Nope.
Why not?
Why? The standards on building these engines is 100 times better than it was in the 80s. They have clean rooms that are designed for keeping these clean while they're manufacturing. The tolerances on everything are machined is so much better than they were again back in the 80s, the 70s, 60s, whatever, that the break-in period is not near as necessary to have. You don't end up with a whole lot of ring material or bearing material in your oil because everything has been machined a heck of a lot better. Now I will probably change the oil at 5,000 miles. I'm not going to run her up to 15 ever, which is what they recommend on it. But to just change it after 1,000 miles, I'm not a believer in having to do that on any of the new vehicles now. I mean, when's the last time you walked into a dealership, bought a new car, and they said, oh yeah, bring it back at 1,000 miles so we can change your oil? It's stated nowhere in service procedure, it's stated nowhere in your manual that you have to change your oil after a break-in period. So, no, I'm not going to do it. Especially with the cost of changing oil in these things. Not going to happen. Even though I did get a couple free oil changes, still not going to do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's good perspective because, again, a lot of people, including myself, I'll be honest, like to get that oil changed at 1,000 before we tow, things like that. But, I mean, I never thought about that. They do engineer these engines, manufacture these engines in a lot cleaner rooms. That's a good point.
Yeah, they're manufactured to a lot tighter specification. They're built in a lot cleaner fashion. Now, I don't recommend somebody just going out and latching onto a trailer after buying one of these and giving her the onion going down the road. In fact, they do specify that before you tow, they want at least 500 miles on it. So, you know, you got one version in one hand and one version in the other. There are going to be the one-offs where a guy's driving through town, blows up his other truck, stops into the dealership to buy a new truck so he can complete his journey. That's a roll of the dice, especially if you're towing heavy. You got to be very gentle for the first 500 miles. You don't want to just give her the onion and end up having a massive failure.
So Josh, I've always talked about anti-spin, but I'll be honest, I'm not 100% sure what an anti-spin is. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, so some people get kind of confused on what that means, and we can take it back to reference of the posi traction rear differentials, except for it's not as aggressive as a posi traction. Definitely not like a locker, because it never does fully lock up. But what it does do is provide some torque to the tire that has the most traction. Sounds counterproductive in your head, but when you have an open differential and you have, let's say, a sheet of ice on this side of the truck and it's dry on this side of the truck, the tire on the ice will spin because all of the torque will transfer through that open differential. That's just the nature of that beast. Now you end up with an anti-spin. It will allow transfer of torque to the tire that has the most traction. It's not just open to whichever one's going to take it. It will give you the ability to get out of those sticky situations a lot better than just having an open differential. But again, it's not a locker. It's not going to apply 50% of torque to both tires all the time, unless both tires have the same amount of friction against the ground. So hope that clears up a little bit, but
yeah.
You know, again, you got to think of the technology that goes into these. Instead of spider gears and stuff like we used to have, we now have planetary gear sets in there, and they can apply clutches inside that planetary gear set just through rotation in order to allow that transfer of torque to go to the right or go to the left, whichever tires demand it the least. And that's where the anti-spin comes in.
So I know you humble, you don't want to talk about this part of the video, but why did you pick a limited?
I'm a mechanic and I'm always dirty, even when I try to keep clean. My wife is always on me about my clothes staying clean, you know, and whether I pop a hood and just touch a couple things, it's never on my mind to hurry up and go wash my hands before I touch stuff. So a lot of my shirts have stains on them, a lot of my pants have stains. My trucks also get stains because forever I've always had the cream color pillars and the cream color headliner and all of that stuff. So I wanted the limited, I demanded the limited so that I could get black, just so that it doesn't look like a mechanic owns this truck in 2 years, you know. That's the number one reason for the limited. Number two reason is because they're nice, and I'm finally at a point in my life where I can afford it. I've always had to get big horns or SLTs and stuff like that because that's what my price point was. I couldn't afford the payments on a Laramie back in the day. But you know, you get older, you get wiser, you get more financially stable, you get a nicer vehicle.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And buddy, you went all the way. And this is a nice truck because for the price of a Laramie, because the way you were speccing one out, you're like, man, like, you're just a few $1,000s away from getting a limited.
Well, so we had a Laramie that was identical to this on the lot. I didn't know it was a special order for a customer, and the window sticker on that was $84,000. And I took it to my sales guy, got the stock number off of it, and I'm like, I want this truck. And then he come back, he's like, that truck's a special order for a customer, we can't sell that one to you. I'm like, okay, well, here's what I want. And that Laramie had black, black, and black. It had the same exact color on the outside, but the whole interior was black. It just didn't have as many of the creature comforts as this. So I said, well, here's my specifications, find me a truck. And they ended up finding one a little bit away, and I said, get it here so I can take it home and show the wife. So they sent a couple salesmen, I don't know, a couple hours away or whatever to get that truck and get it down here. And that'd be this one right here. And it is fully loaded. The only thing that it doesn't have are the auxiliary switches and the dual alternator.
Wow. I know, and then the mega cab. So, I mean, you have older kids.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's nice that if they go on a trip with you guys, they can recline those rear seats.
Well, so our girls, you know, they've always not been a fan of even the crew cab like on my half ton because it's, you know, it's more of a seat back up position and it's not near as comfortable. And when we took, because they went with us when we went to New Mexico, they were fine. They were comfortable. They were able to kick those seats back and just enjoy the ride instead of trying to get comfortable.
I mean, speaking of ride too, how did this truck ride on the way down to Mexico?
It rides better than my half ton ever did. Well,
wow.
I take that back. The only time my half-ton probably was smoother than this was with the factory tires on it.
Okay.
Yeah, remember, those factory tires on the half-tons are only a 4-ply tire.
Oh, wow.
I was working oil field at the time, and I was up in Montana, and just driving down lease roads, it was pushing the rocks through the rubber. We had like 3 flat tires in 3 days, and that next set of days off, because I was having to get back to the tire store every day to get another tire repair. So that next day's off, I got back down here to Salt Lake and bought a new set of tires, and I've been running 10 plies ever since. So 10 ply on a 1500 with 20s, it's a stiff tire. And plus I've got airbags on it, and the truck is just stiff. This is smoother going down the highway than my half-ton is, by far. Alrighty guys, well, thanks for watching the video, and there was an outpouring of positive comments when I did the first video on buying the new truck, and I want to thank every one of you for that. There was like 2 people in there that had something negative to say, and for you guys, thanks for watching still. You're helping the algorithm. So we do have some upgrades that are coming up. We just don't know when yet. Banks is working on some stuff, and I've been in communication with him so that as soon as those parts are available, this truck is going to be one of the first in the country to get them. I pray that that happens sometime soon, because we really need these parts to start coming available for the 25s and the 26s. So stay tuned on that. But again, I want to thank everybody for watching, liking, commenting, share this stuff out there, because again, we're talking about a truck that is going to be the flagship for the bulletproofing program that Truck Stuff has. And we need everybody out there aware of the problems that they're probably going to potentially have with their 25s and 26s. And we also need to make it aware that the industry, the manufacturers, need to do a better job of building these trucks. Now, we don't know exactly what the failures are going to be on this, but I'm suspecting that we're going to start seeing some glow plug problems. Again, time will tell. I know we've already had 2 trucks in the shop that have had glow plug issues, but anytime you have a first model, and those are on 25s, anytime you have a first model year or something, you're going to have bugs that need to get worked out of the system. So again, we're going to be putting on pretty much everything that we can onto this truck, just so that we can show you guys what I'm going to recommend or not recommend. Now, I'm not going to be putting a piece of crap on this truck, because of course it is my baby, but I will let you guys know if I think it's a piece of crap or not. So for you guys out there in the aftermarket world that are producing parts, make sure you're producing good stuff, because if you're producing junk, it's going to get out there that you're making junk. But hold you to a higher standard, just like everybody else is expecting on their very expensive brand new truck. So keep that in mind on your aftermarket side. We're not going to recommend junk, and I'm also not going to recommend anything that is made overseas. I am going to be only installing American made products. American made, for Americans, by Americans.